Your house is cooking you alive, and you are paying for it every month, every summer. Exposed walls baking in the sun, sealed windows trapping heat, a compressor screaming outside while your bill climbs higher. And the whole time, three techniques exist that eliminate the need for any of it: air pressure, water, shade. The building industry buried them because they could not profit from them. I am going to show you all three today. You do not need to tear down a wall. You do not need a permit. Most of this works even if your home is already built. Let me tell you what nobody told you about the house you are sitting in right now. Modern homes are built like sealed plastic bags. The air conditioning industry wants it that way. They want you dependent on their machines. But before the electric fan existed, every builder in America understood how air moves. And it all starts with pressure. Air always flows from high pressure to low pressure, always. It is not a suggestion, it is a law. And once you understand this one thing, you will understand why my house works and yours does not. Low pressure zones are areas where air is less dense, lighter. The molecules spread apart. This happens when air heats up. We all know heat rises. But what they never tell you is where it rises to. It rises into a low pressure zone. High pressure zones are the opposite. The air is denser, heavier, more compressed. This happens where temperatures are cooler. Cool air stays low. It stays in a high pressure zone. Now here is the piece they left out of every building manual after 1975. When wind hits one side of a building, it creates a high pressure zone on that side. On the opposite side, a low pressure zone forms automatically, and air always wants to move from high to low. So if you position your building to catch the prevailing winds, air is going to flow around and through that structure all day long. No machine, no electricity, just physics doing what physics does. I oriented my farmhouse to catch the prevailing summer breeze from the southwest. The wind hits the front of my house, builds pressure, and the low pressure zone on the back pulls air straight through every room. My house breathes on its own. It has for 60 years. Now let me tell you about the stack effect, because this is where it gets powerful. When hot air rises inside your home, it moves into a low pressure zone near the ceiling. It leaves a vacuum below. A high pressure area forms at the bottom where cool, dense air rushes in to fill the space. That cool air enters low, heats up, rises, and pulls in a fresh supply behind it. You now have constant airflow. No fan, no motor, nothing. I built my house with larger openings near the floor and smaller openings near the roof. The hot air escapes out the top. Fresh, cool air gets pulled in through the bottom. The house became its own engine. It has never stopped running. This is not some old wives' tale. This is thermodynamics. And there are ways to make it even stronger. Atriums and ventilation shafts are simple features that give hot air vertical space to rise and escape. They work like chimneys for heat. Solar chimneys take it further. They use the sun to heat air intentionally, which speeds up the stack effect and keeps air moving even when there is no wind outside. The sun does the work a fan would do, for free. And then there are breezeways. I have one running between my kitchen and my living quarters. A breezeway is just an open passage between parts of your building lined up with the wind direction. When the wind hits one side, the low pressure zone on the other pulls air straight through that corridor and into the house through open windows. On the hottest days, my breezeway moves more air than any ceiling fan ever could. Now, if you already own a house and you are thinking this only works if you are building from scratch, stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you is specifically for you. You can create this airflow yourself using cross ventilation, but not the way most people do it. If you open two windows directly across from each other. The air shoots straight through in a line. It does not cool the room, it just passes through and the room stays hot. I stagger my windows. I open a low window on the cool, shaded side of the house and a high window on the opposite wall, positioned on a diagonal. I force the air to travel around the room. I force it to scrub the heat from every corner. The air does not pass through, it circulates. You can do the same thing. Open windows on adjacent walls, stagger the heights, stagger the positions. Make the air work for you instead of just blowing past you. But stay right here, because the air is only half the secret. The other half is water. Water absorbs heat. That is not my opinion, that is physics. And for thousands of years, builders used water to cool homes naturally. The modern way is a sprinkler system that wastes thousands of gallons and spikes your water bill. My way is smarter, and it costs nothing. First technique, evaporative cooling. When you put water near your windows or in a courtyard, it cools the air as it passes over before it enters your home. This can be a pool, a small fountain, a clay pot filled with water, or even damp soil in a planter box. I have a shallow stone basin on my north porch, nothing fancy. Rainwater collects in it on its own. Every breeze that passes over that water drops 2 to 5 degrees before it enters my living room. I have never paid a dime for it. The ancient Persians used this exact method 3,000 years ago with their wind catchers. It worked then. It works now. The air conditioning industry just made sure you never heard about it. Second technique, green roofs. Some people call them living roofs. You cover your roof with living plants. The soil holds water. The plants breathe moisture into the air. You can design them with water retention systems that keep the roof damp. What happens is the building below stays dramatically cooler because the roof is no longer a heat trap. It becomes a cooling system. Every drop of water that evaporates from that roof pulls heat away from your home. My neighbor put one on his workshop 3 years ago. He said it dropped the inside temperature by 12 degrees on the worst days. Third technique, radiant cooling. If you know about radiant heating, where hot water runs through pipes in the floor to warm a room, radiant cooling is the same idea flipped upside down. Cool water flows through tubes in the ceiling. It absorbs the heat rising up from the space below. The room cools without a single vent blowing air, no noise, no drafts, just steady, silent cooling. It is elegant, and it works. If you have stayed this far, you have earned what comes next, because this last piece is the one that makes the biggest difference. And it is the one the building industry fights hardest to keep you ignorant about. Shading. It sounds too simple, it sounds obvious, but I watch architects and designers ignore it every single day. And the reason is clear. There is no profit in shade. Nobody sells you shade. Nobody charges $10,000 to install it. So nobody talks about it. But shading is one of the most effective ways to reduce solar heat gain that exists. Most people think about using buildings for shade. They never think about shading the building itself. And that is the mistake that costs them hundreds every summer. The afternoon sun hitting a western-facing wall is brutal. It is a solar oven. Your wall absorbs that heat for 6 straight hours every afternoon, then it radiates it into your home all night long. The siding industry wants you to let that heat in so they can sell you better insulation to fight it. The cooling industry wants you to crank the air conditioning harder. Nobody tells you to just stop the sun from hitting the wall in the first place. I do not fight the sun. I block it. First, overhangs and shade structures. I designed overhangs that cover every single window during the summer months. 3 feet past the wall on the western side. If you live somewhere extremely hot, shade the entire wall, not just the windows, the wall itself. Second, western sun protection. The afternoon sun is the hottest sun of the day. I minimized my western-facing windows. I built a deep porch that wraps around the entire western face of my house. That porch is not decorative. It is engineering. It keeps the most brutal heat off my walls during the worst hours. Third, deciduous trees and vines. I planted them on the west and southwest corners of my property 50 years ago. In the summer, the leaves create a wall of shade so thick you cannot see the sun through it. In the winter, the leaves fall and the sun pours through to warm the house for free. It is a self-regulating system. It adjusts with the seasons. No thermostat, no timer, just nature doing what nature does. Those three things, moving air with pressure zones, using water to pull heat out of the air, and blocking the sun before it ever touches your walls. That is the foundation of a home that cools itself. It is how my father kept cool. It is how his father kept cool. And it is how I have kept cool for 60 years without paying a power company 1 red cent for air conditioning. The air conditioning industry is a $130 billion machine. They do not make money when your house cools itself. They make money when your compressor breaks in July. They make money when you are desperate and sweating and willing to pay anything. They need you ignorant. They need you dependent. You do not have to be either. I have more to share than I could fit in one sitting. The building materials that reject heat instead of absorbing it. How the direction your house faces can keep it 10 degrees cooler. Underground cooling tubes that use the earth itself as a refrigerator. And those ancient wind catchers I mentioned, the ones civilizations used for 3,000 years before someone decided you needed a machine instead, I have linked everything below. So here's what I want you to do. Walk around the outside of your house this afternoon. Look at your western-facing walls. Tell me in the comments what is protecting them from the sun. Anything at all. Or is it just bare siding, baking in the heat, cooking your family from the outside in? Next time, I'm going to show you how I keep my root cellar at a steady 52 degrees year-round. No electricity, just a clay pipe, a bucket of sand, and a technique that goes back to a Kentucky hill farmer named Elijah Combs in 1887. You will not believe how simple it is. I will see you then. Stay cool. Stay curious. And remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.